So we're here replacing a Skylight, and we'll kind of do a how-to tutorial. The main thing, first and foremost, is safety. So here we have an anchor point, and both of us have full body anchors as well as descenders. That's the main thing, especially with the shingles being really wet in the morning. You don't want to be slipping and falling or scratching up the shingles if you do slip. So make sure that you have something tied off, your side off, and working safely. We also have a toe board here. One shingle is removed, and then we'll replace one shingle right there. So this is a leaking Skylight. This is not Skylight original to the house, and the customer had accumulation towards the bottom of the drywall down there, and sometimes what happens is the glass will start to do laminate right here, and you can kind of see the old gasket sealing right there that's starting to delaminate, and you can kind of see the water accumulation towards the top. So part of it could be that is just moisture building up. Part of it also is likely that these gaskets are starting to leak, and you can see it more pronounced towards the bottom here. So what the plan is today is we'll take the Skylight out, install a new Velux Skylight. We'll center it inside. We'll put new ice and water shields around it, and then new shingles around it. So we have all the shingles off. One thing we will say is that be mindful of how you're tearing off the shingles. So shingle manufacturers require 6-inch spacing between shingles. So what that means is where one shingle ends and the other one begins, you don't want anything closer than 6 inches. So this is roughly 6 inches right here. Yep, so like 6.5. Sometimes you'll get odd ones like this that are a little bit bigger. So that's like 8 inches. And then right here as well, you'll have about 17.5, but you don't want anything closer than 6 inches, because then you'll start to have water seeping into the nails. So imagine if you had a shingle, if the shingle was any closer, you see the water marks right here. In the winter or in the fall, if leaves kind of get stuck right here, water through capillary action will kind of go actually to the sides and will start to leak through those nail holes. So just be mindful of that if you're going to be trying to do this on your own. So we'll get this cleaned up, get the Skylight out, and we'll show you how we center the Skylight from the inside. This is the product that we're using. It's a Velux deck mounted C06 Skylight. So there's a few variations. There's deck mounted and there's curb mounted. So curb mounted actually mounts on a curb, and they do sell flashing for it, but normally you'd have to make the flashing yourself. Here, the fixed Skylight deck mounted comes with a flashing kit that looks like this, and I believe this works for a couple different Skylights. Yep, so it fits for the CO6, CO4, and CO1. So the difference between those Skylights is just the height of the Skylight. The width is exactly the same. And these would be the flashing kits that come from Velux. So this would be the back counter flashing, that's the front, and then you have the step flashing. Here we have the Skylight installed. A little bit of a tip if you're working on your own. Probably shouldn't be working on your own, but I've done it. We had two people installing this Skylight. So one was inside the bathroom, kind of getting a visual on the reveals and telling the guy up here which way to push it. Another way to do it is to snap a line from the interior drywall on all four sides of the opening and then center it that way. So we have about 2 1/4 here, 2 1/4 there. And a little bit more towards the top. This isn't the most plumb or square opening, so it's a little bit different, but this is a little bit of a tip if you are working on your own and you want to get it pretty close prior to installing trim. That's one way you could do it. So we have the membrane placed around the Skylight. So Velux provides a white peel and stick membrane, and on their flashing cards it actually says that to get any sort of warranty from Velux you need to use the Velux provided membrane. It is not my favorite, but whatever we have we'll use. We'll cover the balance here with some more membrane. And the way we install any sort of ice guard is you start from the bottom and you work your way up. So imagine water and the way it runs, you want water to drip onto a membrane. So if we started from the top and placed this piece of ice guard last, it would create an entry point for the water. So for that reason, you want to start from the bottom and step your way up. And that's where step flashing gets its name from. So next here, we'll start to install shingles and we'll be out of here soon. So here we have the first flashing installed, and this is the one that Velux provided. The front is a shorter flashing, the back flashing is a longer flashing because you'll have water accumulation there. One thing to note is they have almost like a rubber gasket that is built into the Skylight itself, and you want the gasket to sit over top of the flashing, and it's almost like a groove that's made inside there. I don't know if you can see it, where it kind of fits this piece of flashing exactly. And usually what we'll do is we'll push it tight up against the Skylight, put a couple nails on either side, and that way the face is nail free and it looks nice from the ground. But we've had times where we've put face nails. All you'll have to do is put some sealant on it. So we're here at the very top now, and we have this head flashing installed. One thing to note is that these step flashings, when you're installing them, you'd want to kind of almost bend them back a little bit. So currently, when you get them, they're at a 90 degree. Sometimes it's nice to kind of bend them back, and the aluminum gauge is light enough where it won't be too difficult to push it up against the Skylight. But what that gives you is a really nice tight fit around the entire Skylight. And then when you install this back flashing, you want to install membrane across the very top again. And then finally we'll install the perimeter flashing that Velux provided. So we have the last pieces of trim being installed. So we have these kind of tucking up underneath the assembly. They came tucked in. When you're installing the flashing, you just kind of remove them. There's a couple screws that are holding these three pieces of trim together. And to put it back, you just kind of, you have a lip on the bottom of this front flashing, like a little bit of a hem that you tuck this tab into, and you kind of just push it right underneath, and it should sit right up underneath there. You can hear it click right in. You can probably adjust it slightly. You don't want to hit it too much because this is pretty soft aluminum. But then you kind of look down the side right here, and it's a nice clean finish. You'll have a tab right here that you'll kind of fold up, and it'll hold the side there from backing out. But to install this trim, or this screw right here, just the Phillips head. You don't even torque it in. It's just kind of just pressure fit. And then the tab here, it'll fold up, and then you have almost like a stopper from this piece sliding out. So this piece is not attached to the frame itself. It's just pressure fit. And the way it stops from sliding down is these tabs right here. So there's the same tab on that side. And that's about it. We get the piece of paper off, clean it up, and we'll be out of here. But it's a fairly easy job. I would almost say DIY if you have a little bit of knowledge about working with your hands, so it's nothing too difficult. The cost of this window and the flashing will run you probably between $500 and $600. That's without the shade. They do sell a Velux Skylight CO6 that has built-in shade, and I think the price on that is around $600. So just be aware if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you see a price that high, it could be that the window shade is included in the price. And that's the finished window from the street. We have Mike there. He'll replace a piece of shingle right there where we had the toe board. But fairly easy. If you have a roof that's not too steep, it'll probably take you, I don't know, a handful of hours. This one was a little bit steeper roof. We started early in the morning. There was a lot of almost like algae on the roof, which made it pretty slippery, and took us a little bit longer, but we beat the heat. The heat index here is going to be around 100 today. The cost for something like this, if you are purchasing from a contractor, will generally run you between $1,800 to $2,500, depending on where you're at. In our area, it'd probably be around $2,100. But if you're doing the work yourself, you'll probably spend I don't know, $600, $700 in material plus your time. So anyways, so another pro tip, if you're working on your own house, this is the northern side. The Skylight replacement was on the southern side. If possible, save your shingles on the northern side. So this color is a lot different than the front. So the southern side gets predominantly is the sun facing side, and here the shingles are a shade darker. So we actually went up on the roof on the north side because there was a tree in the front, but we installed a toe board and jacks right here. We reused those shingles because if we installed new shingles that were close to the original color, they would stick out like a sore thumb. Whereas on the front, the color has more or less remained the same or gotten a little bit lighter. And that's the finished look right there. So on this side, the shingles are noticeably lighter, and it's just the way it works. Algae grows on the shady side, and you'll have dark staining on portions of the roof that are predominantly shaded. So you can see a little bit of variance on the shingles, but it's not terrible. So that's how we replace a Velux Skylight.